Pieces of the puzzle, scientific method. The first part of scientific method is you have to write a testable question. A testable question should be able to be proved wrong. Like, is the sky blue? Is that a testable question because it can't be proved. Are all Americans allergic to dogs? That is a testable question because it can be proved wrong. You could conduct the experiment. An example is, if I change the design of the plane, will it fly better? This is from my airplane lab. The second part of the scientific method is the hypothesis. In science, a hypothesis is an idea or an explanation that you then test through study and experimentation. Outside science, a theory or guess can also be called a hypothesis. It has to start with if, then, and because. If all three airplanes are designed differently with the same copy paper, then the Seahawks will beat the other planes because the plane has good wings that will cut through the wind without falling. It has a lot of stabilization in the base of the plane. This is from my airplane lab. And over here, you can see my picture for my hypothesis. The third step of the scientific method is using variables. Basically, a variable is any factor that can be controlled, changed, or measured in an experiment. Scientific experiments have several types of variables. The independent and the dependent variables are the ones usually plotted on a chart or graph. Measure in centimeters, design of airplane, distance in centimeters, type of paper. This was from my airplane lab, and those are just examples of what I had to write. Here is a picture of a graph like going up from the variables. The fourth step of the scientific method is procedure. The procedure of the lab or experiment is pretty much just the steps you took to make the lab. You must be very detailed on how you write because you have to say each part of your step. Your step can't be one word. Like, first, get directions for branded Seahawks so you can make the plane. This is from my airplane lab, and over here is my picture for procedure. The fifth part of the scientific method is data. Your data is your results of your graph. The data is the points of your lab. It explains what the results of the lab and the final numbers of the graph. I wrote data for my airplane lab. My Seahawks won compared to all the other planes. The sixth part of the scientific method is data analyst. Analysis of data is a process of inspecting, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data with a goal of discovering useful information, suggesting conclusions, and supporting decision making. In my airplane lab, I was one of the data people, and I took down notes. The seventh and final part of the scientific method is conclusions. A conclusion is your final summary of what you have done. What have you achieved and what results or answers have you come up with during your experiment? A paragraph bringing together all the strands you've been working with and finishing off your practical so it reaches an appropriate ending. You have to bring together the paragraph to a conclusion. I have right here an example conclusion, like a paragraph. The end. Go Seahawks.